It has been snowing for 8 days. They said it would be 2, then 3, then 5, and here we are at 8. It had been so long since we had been outside. The powder had been out. If only we had gotten those solar panels. But since the powder went out, we had to bundle up, per se. We have no heat. My husband tried to make an expedition, per se, to try and get to another person's house to try and unite us. But it just kept snowing, and he was lost. By the time he had gotten halfway there, it already snowed past his neck. Next, my sister. She tried so hard to hold on to her sanity, but she just lost it. And then went my son and daughter. My son and daughter, they died first of the cold. They almost died within 10 minutes of each other. Twins that held all my joy in the world. And just to come to such an end. They said that I live my best life. I say I live in a nightmare. I say that there is only one way out. All I have to say that I need to finish saying is that I can't believe they've actually done it. There is not long left, not for me, not for anyone. And they were warned, but they just had to keep pushing the boundaries of science. The noise, the constant fluff of snow can't take the noise anymore. The light reflecting off of everything. God. The world is slowly dying. I'm not going to wait for death. I have a pistol in the attic.
There is a house where strange things happen. It is a very old estate in a suburb of Boston called Medford, Massachusetts. This house, people over the years have come to say, is a fundamentally unbalanced place. The people have rumored and whispered that this place, it is over 200 years old by this point, is a doorway to another dimension. People have died here over the years, and people have gone missing, and then been found weeks or months later, hidden away in closets and crawl spaces, sometimes dehydrated and delirious, usually dead. People have been found in such states throughout the entire sordid history of the estate. It served as a mental asylum, a wayward home for World War I veterans, a tuberculosis ward, and between each was a private home. Objects have been known to disappear by seemingly their own volition, and been found years later, having collected no dust, out in plain sight, in wide, open rooms. Strange noises, inexplicable apparitions, and handwritten notes stuffed into the cracks between bricks, some of which are dated many hundreds of years into the future, could all be explained by hoaxes, pranks, and psychosomatic testimonials. People who simply want the place to be supernatural, who want it to be otherworldly. There have been accounts by individuals claiming to see shadowy figures and ethereal silhouettes moving in and out of the walls. And likewise, others have claimed to see the caricatures of ghosts, milky, gray, translucent, and flowing, They have the image and likeness of people from long-gone time periods, some of which have been positively compared to images and descriptions of documented persons who have lived and died at the estate. The difference being that the ghosts, the white, see-through, translucent ghosts, have always been human, but the dark shadows have not. The name has come up over and over again in the history of the estate, most likely because those who know enough about the estate, those who have enough interest in the establishment to spend the time and money to visit it, already know the name. But then again, who knows? The name of the person, or rather, the creature, is Marbus Tack. First recorded in the diary of Miss Elizabeth Lothrop in 1807, this creature seems to resemble a dog or a hyena more than a human being, though it stands on two legs. This Tack consistently seems to want something, always something intangible, from those who it chooses to speak with. Exactly what it wants has never been determined. It has been described as frail, gaunt, and pale. It always stays in the corner of the room when speaking, never moving far or stretching out its arms, but for some inexplicable, some unspeakable reason, the witnesses to this Tack can never simply run away from it. From the Civil War up to the 1918 influenza epidemic, all the way to the Iran hostage crisis and beyond, witnesses have claimed being completely paralyzed, unable to escape the strange words from his strange mouth. This Tack creature, this strange being, they claim moves in and out of walls. It can begin and start conversations at the same time in a way that's impossible to describe and perplexing, moving away like a dream when those who have claimed to have spoken with the creature, seen the creature, have tried to recount what they spoke about, all of whom have claimed to see it clearly in broad daylight, but only after other paranormal experiences, the witnessing of other non-human entities, shadows, have occurred, all of whom, whether recounting legitimate experiences or simply wanting to become a part of the folklore of the estate, can never articulate exactly what it said, but always understood why it wanted something. When asked why it engaged them, these witnesses, either legitimately or because they have trained themselves to, after researching the accounts of others, the others who have made this place famous, seem to lose their thoughts. They stare off into the sky or out a window and are not able to recount their encounters with Marbus Tack without becoming visibly angered and irrational. Even when asked years later, even when investigators have tried to catch them off guard at a party or some public function, throwing in a question or two in an interview in a completely alien environment, not one has ever come out, laughing and wiping tears from their eyes, stating something to the effect of, "Oh yeah, we thought that it would be fun if we told everyone that we saw a ghost, or a monster, or whatever. It was all a lot of fun. We had a lot of laughs." Some of the people who have claimed to have spoken with this Tack creature have been institutionalized. Most have committed suicide. The estate remains the property of the city of Medford, Massachusetts, primarily because of litigation issues regarding how the house and surrounding property are left in trust to Medford, and because of unorthodox loopholes grandfathered in over the years, the building cannot be repaired or restored, nor demolished. So it stands to this day, open to visitors. It is easy to find, and there remains to this day a caretaker of the estate who will happily show anyone willing to venture out there a tour. But the caretaker does not stay overnight. No one has stayed overnight in, at this point, almost 100 years. But you are welcome to be the first.
I think the tree outside my window wants me dead. I don't like the tree outside my window. The tree outside my window doesn't like me either. We have lived in this house for 10 years. It is a long time to live next to that tree that hates me. When we first moved here, I was very young, still in kindergarten. And I knew right away that I did not like the tree. It didn't like the way it watched me through my windows at night. I would ask Mom to pull the curtains and she would. I knew the tree could see me anyway. It's weird to be hated by something that can't speak, has no face. How do I know it hates me? I can feel its hatred streaming, rising off the bar. When I am under it, it drops sticks on my head. Sometimes I worry that I will fall over one day, crash into my room and kill me. The tree will die too, but it will take me out with it. And I think that the tree will see me as a worthy sacrifice. I would ask to have a different bedroom, but there isn't one for me to move into. Just the one for my mom and dad, the one for me, by the tree. Sometimes I dream of the tree. Usually, the dreams don't make sense, but sometimes they do. And they're about the tree growing and growing. I'm trapped inside the branches and the tree grows around me. It swallows me into it gets bigger and bigger until it's the size of 2 or 3 or even 4 houses. Then the wood closes up around me, completely inside the trunk. Then I die inside the tree. And I wake up, and I feel as though the tree is laughing. I think the tree is getting angrier. I can see it growing and getting older, and it doesn't want that. The anger is getting hotter and quicker, and sometimes it makes me sweat at night. One day, I went outside and there was a swing dangling through the tree. It looked old, like it had always been there. I never go anywhere near it and it never moves, even when it's really windy outside. It was 2 months ago. Every day, I get more and more afraid of that tree. The branches have gotten so close to my window that they scrape against the glass at night, like they're trying to break in. I can't tell anyone that I'm afraid. I haven't spoken to anyone else about the tree in years, because when I asked Mama about the tree outside, I asked if it would ever be cut down. I tried not to seem too eager about it. And my mama looked at me funny and said, everyone else had said to me since that there is no tree outside my window.
The 21st century has seen an exponential growth in media output, facilitated through the internet. Digital technology has cut the cost of audio recordings, video recordings, and still photography so drastically that no one should be surprised by the fact that the nature of 21st century life in first world countries has shifted dramatically. For better or for worse, there are more cameras out there than ever, and therefore more recordings that cannot be explained. It's been a long time since October 20th, 1967, when Robert Patterson allegedly shot Bigfoot on 16mm film, and since that time, countless VHS and mini-DV tapes have been filled with coverage of UFOs, Thunderbirds, Chupacabras, Mothmen, and Jersey Devils, which is inevitable because people want to find these things. People hoax these creatures, people want to gain fame and notoriety from such lucky shots, and ultimately, people want them to be real. But that is not the case for the Windwalkers. To date, very few videos or stills exist of Windwalkers that aren't obvious hoaxes. Very few videos or stills of them exist at all. Many more clips of alleged footage are put up and then taken down within days, even hours, rather than stay up permanently for people to continue to look up. Those followers of cryptids who show interest in the creatures have been surprisingly forgiving about this. It's almost as if they already understand that it is not worth the risk to one's safety to show the Windwalkers to the world. Unlike all those other monsters, whose image and likeness are treasured and reveled in. In a world of candid shots on every smartphone, where 24-hour real-time coverage of every single person's life is not vanity, but rather a social norm, one would expect a welcome to a constant stream of possible sightings and encounters. The Windwalkers have risen to notoriety because it is not permissible to show shots of them. Exactly what will happen to someone who not only finds a Windwalker but shows it to the world, people speculate about. But as of yet, no one knows. Ever since the beginning of the 21st century, there have been accounts and reports of the creatures known as the Windwalkers. They are large beasts, 2 arms, 2 legs, and a long, long tail that splits out into a dozen threads at its end. These creatures are called Windwalkers because they are usually spotted sitting on top of windmills. They've been seen on city skyscrapers, radio and cell phone towers, and atop bridges, but the most iconic images of the creatures are always on windmills. And the direct correlation in the increase of windmills and the increase of digital photography has caused these creatures to enter the canon of pop culture cryptids. The Windwalkers always have 2 big horns, but their faces, or snouts rather, can never be accurately described because they're always seen to be sort of wearing long black cloaks, hooded robes, or long torn up, frayed shreds of cloth, concealing much of whatever their bodies actually look like. The perspective that onlookers always see the Windwalkers by, up on something, always something man-made, high up, always makes their exact size and features difficult to determine. Usually, in a video or a still photo, their shape can best be described as a black form with a long thread, the tail, sticking out of it. Limbs and horns are nothing more than depixelated blurs sticking out of the torso and the head. The mystery of the Windwalkers has always been fueled by the nature of their sightings. They are always too far away to be seen in great detail. No one's ever claimed that they made any attempts at communications with human beings. No one has ever claimed to see them outside their bedroom window or been cornered by one while camping out in the woods. No one's ever claimed that they've made any noise at all. Truth be told, it would be considered strange that no one's ever even tried to make up such a story about encountering them. If just for the fame, it would be considered strange if one were considering any cryptid other than Windwalkers. The walkers are usually said to crawl around the edge of whatever structure they are climbing up on, circling around the base like a lizard, some kind of sharp-clawed creature, and they always just disappear in a sort of Cheshire Cat routine after 1 or 2 quick turns. Other testimonials have claimed that they fly away. They just shoot straight up, higher and higher, until they blur far beyond the commercial airplanes, far beyond their audience's line of sight, into obscurity. They don't sprout wings, they don't glide on their skin, they simply rise, by means of no visible propulsion, into nothing. Some bloggers claim that the Windwalkers choose windmills for a reason. These claims tend to be founded on nothing more than the writer's thinly veiled attempts to state an opinion about the nature of windmills in residential areas, both for and against their placement. Others claim the Windwalkers can not only move through the air so effortlessly because they are some kind of supernatural creature, but because they aren't really moving through space, but through time. That they can move in and out of people's sights because they only exist in our dimension for a few brief moments at a time, and that they've chosen to appear to us only recently because of motives far beyond what we can understand. That there has been some correlation between these strange sort of hunchbacked, rag-covered, long-tailed creatures and the pronounced height, high-force wind tunnels and strong electromagnetic fields surrounding large-scale windmills. Still, the majority of people have not only never ever heard of Windwalkers, but if they had, then they would probably never ever consider that they actually exist. And so, there obviously remains a reason why people continue to research and follow the Windwalkers. It is still considered inappropriate, downright unsafe, to regularly follow and post evidence of the creatures on the internet. That is, should one actually find a Windwalker. The real creatures, find them, document them for everything they're worth. Whether or not the followers of the beast simply have their methods regarding those who pry too far into the territories of their beloved, apparently endangered species, or if the creatures themselves simply regulate their territories by whatever means a wild animal would. Still, no one knows where the Windwalkers actually come from, and no one knows if they are real or not. If they do exist, why do they choose to remain in plain sight? If they can travel through time or space, why come to a time and place specific, like America in the early 21st century? Why knowingly compromise your presence at the top of gigantic, man-made, conspicuous structures? Or is it the nature of these structures that they are trying to tell us something about? The Windwalkers remain a new phenomenon to the 21st century, but stranger creatures have allegedly existed. Whether or not they actually do, their impact on our society remains intact. Some say that the Windwalkers chose not to reveal themselves to the common public, because the Windwalkers, apparently, only appear to those who are not only able to see them in daylight, but are also those who tend to voluntarily remove any and all evidence of their existence. The Windwalkers choose to not speak with human beings, to not make any sounds at all, because they only want, apparently they only choose to be seen. The Windwalkers have been able to lift their bodies, allegedly, effortlessly into the sky, if only to show us that no matter how hard we try, no matter how long we break our necks and try and follow them, that we can't. They come from something else, somewhere else. They are beyond us. Perhaps that is the reason why they choose to appear the way that they appear. But the Windwalkers have, from time to time, made their presence known all up and down the east coast of the United States. They have made their way up the ladder of media relevance, even once or twice breaking the 5 o'clock news and stirring up whole towns for days. Few have ever seen a Windwalker, and very few will probably ever see one. Have you ever seen one? Because if you haven't yet, then you should keep your eyes open. Because the Windwalkers might just be out there. And if they are, they might not like that you've been posting stories about them. That is to say, not to warn, or rather just to say, that anyone who's posted about the Windwalkers since their image and video threads have become so popular has to understand the risk that they're taking. So if you ever see a Windwalker perched high up on a windmill or a skyscraper or something, if you're ever lucky enough to see one from afar, then you better be prepared to see one from, well, you'll see.
Hello everyone, thank you for watching or listening, whatever you want to say this far. Seeing as this is our third video, there's going to be a weekly thing every Wednesday, but I just want to say thank you. Also thank you to Asriel, Werikai, and yeah, it was really helpful that he helped with this. Also, if you want to see more of me, you can look at my personal channel, link in the description, or Yoldasi Films, where me and a bunch of guys make movies. And you can check that in the description as well. Not to mention, if you want to see more of Asriel Werikai, and you have access to Yoldasi Live or Antigan Television, you could look at the show Antigua Isles of the Dead and see him there. But without further ado, just yeah. Although I do want to say, and this is important, your life depends on it. If you see something strange, just remember,